What's going on, everyone? My name is Talon Sai and you are watching Sunday GUNDAY. I hope you guys are all having a great Sunday so far. We're finally back to making videos. I'm not sure how many we're going to be making this year given the previous video where I mentioned everything that I have going on. However, this video today has been long requested since last year sometime when I actually filmed this video. If you've been following along on my main channel and you've been following along to some older videos here on this channel, you will know that I've been traveling the country pretty much full time for the past year or so. At the start of that trip, I had the chance to go up and visit my friend Kevin Brittingham from Q up in New Hampshire, and I had the chance to sit down and talk about a lot of different offerings that are coming from Q. We initially started with a sit-down chat talk about the mini fix, and then I actually brought you guys a full dedicated video on Kevin's personal fix. I don't currently own one of those. I do, however, now own a honey badger pistol. This thing has been hot in the press, media, news and stuff over the past couple of months, and now it's time to finally sit down once again with Kevin and talk about the honey badger. This is going to be sort of a podcast, technical, long-winded, just really long video of Kevin and I sitting down and talking about all of the details of how he brought this thing to life. I do plan on bringing you guys a full range video of the honey badger here, hopefully next week, so I will see if I can make that happen. But for now, sit back, relax, throw this up on your TV or whatever, because Kevin and I have sat down and we talked in depth about the honey badger. Alright, what's going on, everyone? We're back for round two, sitting down with Kevin from Q once again. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good as always. Good. So today, instead of talking about the mini fix, we're going to move on to the honey badger, which is probably what Q's known for best. Would that be correct?
I don't know. From my perspective, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess.
Whenever I think of Q, I think this is the first thing that comes to mind. Although I'm probably personally more of a fan of the fix. That's besides the point. Yeah. So I'm curious, just from a really broad overall perspective, what was the idea behind this? What made you want to create it, and for what purpose?
Yeah, well, the honey badger, we did at the request of SOCOM about a decade ago, and the idea was I came up with a concept to replace the MP5 and the submachine gun within the SOCOM community.
Which is why there's so many comparisons between those now.
Yeah,
size and operation.
Sure, and I understand when people will say, oh, it's not a good comparison. And I understand when they say, well, because it's a pistol cartridge. But that was the whole idea, was they had an 8 to 8.5 pound MP5 SD that really had a 50-meter range, that they wanted the same signature reduction, but they wanted lethality out to 300 meters and to be able to engage targets well beyond it.
Which is where this comes to life right away. So.
Yeah, and so that's actually why it was done, and that's why I make all the comparisons with the 9mm, because I love 9mm, it's great. And 9mm carbines are fun to shoot, but it's not practical from a military or defense or offensive standpoint.
Right. So if you guys are curious about the whole kind of 300 blackout ballistically and the power that it brings, you can check out the previous video. I'll leave a link for it up in the corner. Where did you start the design when it came to this? Obviously you're kind of looking to replace that platform. So you started with the overall size, or what was the thought process?
Yeah, well, there was a unit that was using a Wildcat cartridge, or they were interested in it, and they were testing it, and it was 300 Whisper, which we eventually commercialized and turned into 300 Blackout. The reason why 300 Whisper wasn't successful is they were using standard 308 projectiles, and they don't feed correctly in an M4 reliably.
Right.
And if it's loaded reliably, most of the bullets are shorter. They don't take up all the room inside of an AR mag, so that would induce reliability issues
kind
as
of
well.
Jamming up and
Yeah, and so what they wanted, because what SOCOM actually wanted was to be able to shoot the 7.62 by 39 in an AR. So it was kind of two things. That's sort of what they wanted initially, and that doesn't work for several reasons. If you look at an overall AK cartridge 7.62 by 39 compared to 5.56 or 300 blackout.
Yeah, just like looking at the magazine side by side, they're different shapes because they're
an AK mag is designed correctly. It's a full curve because the cartridge is very tapered, and so you need that. And you obviously can't put that into an M4 receiver. There's far less taper in the 5.56 cartridge, so it doesn't need to taper as much. So you can actually get away with a straight mag for 20 rounds, like you see the 20 round mags have. Right. So that was one thing. So once they started going down that road, essentially the 7.62 by 39 is a better cartridge inside of 300 meters than the 5.56. You put more energy on target. And once you go beyond that, 5.56 is better. But as you know, our military started fighting more in urban environments, weapons barrels started getting shorter on M4s. So most of the ammo for M4s, everyone knows, or for 5.56 is designed for 20-inch barrels, and then they're running 10-inch barrels, so the ammo isn't very effective. So 7.62 by 39 was better, and that's just what the guys knew. So they said, oh, we just want to put 7.62 by 39 in here, but it doesn't work, it doesn't fit. Like, there are people who have done it, but it's never going to be reliable enough for like US SOCOM. So we did that, and then they also discovered, well, there's no good 7.62 at the time, no good 7.62 by 39 ammo for lots of reasons. But most of the loadings around the world are really trash compared to what we do in the US, so you couldn't get accuracy.
It seems like most are like FMJ, or just like really, like there isn't a whole lot of selection as far as like expansion. And
yeah, there's not a lot of bullet selection with them, it's true. You know, and it's 311, it's not 308, so it is slightly different. And so they kind of went down that road and then said, well, they started looking at this Whisper cartridge, the Wildcat cartridge that J.D. Jones was doing, and then we were doing all the silencers for them at the time, so they asked me if we were interested in taking a look at it, and it made a lot of sense because Remington was in the process of buying my company, and we had access to that, and so we tested for a couple weeks, and like, it makes sense. And so all they wanted were uppers for their M4s and their HK416s that would be in 300 blackout that they could install. They were 9-inch barrels, and that's why we designed all the ammo to perform out of a 9-inch barrel, so that's a huge advantage. So expand, you know, the Barnes 110 was a bullet that we developed, and it's designed to work optimally out of a 9-inch barrel. Okay. So it'll expand, because if you have ammo or bullets that are designed for velocities of a 20-inch barrel and you cut the barrel in half, you're not going to get the expansion.
You're not going to get full burn, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there's a lot of issues. So we did that, and so we sold SOCOM uppers and silencers for their existing guns. And so there were other groups within SOCOM that didn't adopt it. And so I went to them and they didn't feel a need for it. So I said, well, the MP5 SD it's in your arsenal and the life cycle has been up on it for a couple decades. What about if we design a gun around 300 blackout that solves a lot of, you know, the problems with the MP5 SD? And I love the MP5 and the MP5 SD, but it's very antiquated. And, you know, like the guns are not very accurate. The MP5 SD is 6 to 9 MOA at 100 meters.
It's a classic gun, not knocking it at all, but technology has changed. So yeah, it's time for something a little newer.
In this unit, for instance, their 308 gas gun weighed the same as their MP5 SD. So it just doesn't make sense for modern militaries. So I said, what if we could do a gun? So basically the length is determined of the Honey Badger by the length of the MP5 SD. And we tried to reduce the weight, and we reduced the weight of the weapon by 3 pounds, which was pretty significant. Damn, okay. We made it quieter than the MP5 SD with subsonic. And this is a 2 MOA subsonic gun with the proper ammo.
Right.
And so the accuracy is way better. And with supersonic, it's a 1 MOA gun. Reliability is much better with this gun.
And that's coming out of a, what is this, 8-inch barrel?
This one is a 7-inch. The Mini Fix is an 8-inch barrel. Okay. The Honey Badger is currently a 7-inch, and it's a 1 in 5 twist, which we've talked about previously. The fast twist, so you get more energy with super and subsonic, and you get better accuracy with the slow subsonic bullets. Okay. So that was important.
And a few different configurations as well. So this is the one with the Honey Badger specific can underneath there. So you got the silencer built in with a longer handguard.
Yep.
And then you can also get it with just the regular cherry bomb. And that's the same, what length barrel is that?
7-inch.
7-inch barrel, okay.
Yeah, so the only difference in all of our guns, we have the pistol version of the Honey Badger, and then we have the SBR. The only difference in those two guns is the stock or the brace. Now with the SD, this version, and those two versions, they have the same barrel, everything else the same. This has a longer handguard and it has a silencer installed, and there is no cherry bomb. Now if you want to convert, if you have this gun, you want to convert it to the standard pistol version or SBR, it's a
pop that off.
Turnbuckle.
Collar is almost the same as we talked about in the previous video, so it kind of just cinches it down. And
yeah, this just holds it in place, pulls it back to the receiver. You take out that turnbuckle, you slide the handguard off. The barrel thread has the same taper and everything. You could install a cherry bomb, order the short handguard, put on there, and you have the compact.
Very cool. So speaking of the overall length, trying to keep it the same as the predecessor, that changed the internal mechanism of this a little bit. The recoil system obviously needs to be shorter with a stock or a brace like this. So what was the decision on that?
So this had been done in the past, and you know, the Colt port firing weapon was one from 40 years ago where they shortened the operating system. It's also been done by H&K on the 416, and everybody did it in some different ways. But for us to get the overall length, we had to do a couple things. To get lethality, meaning have a long enough barrel, you know, we could only have a certain size silencer, and then another place we could take length was off the back. So we changed the operating system. This has a shortened bolt carrier. This doesn't shotgun open like a normal AR, but it's all to save the 2.5 inches off the rear of the gun to get the overall length. And it also saves weight with the gun.
Right. Okay.
So that's kind of why we did that. So that part of the gun is also special. It uses standard AR or M4 bolts.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second, because we talked about there only being really two pieces that use standard parts over here. This is still very much like a custom firearm. What are the pieces that are interchangeable? You have the grip, the trigger pack. Safety is specific to this now?
Well, this will take, the Honey Badger will actually take M4 safeties or standard AR safeties. Ours is a little different. This is 70 degree because there's 45 degree on the market, but it's never always safe for 100% of the mil-spec guns.
Right.
But with this gun, the things that are stock on it are the dust cover, the bolt, the mag catch and release, and we may be doing our own custom mag catches now, but it takes a mil standard one. It takes mil standard triggers, pistol grip, safety selector, and takedown pins. Everything else is unique and custom to this gun.
Including the charging handle as well.
Including the charging handle. And it's not just the finish, like we clear anodize the parts, so like this is 60-61 aluminum. When you clear anodize it, it turns out a gray. These are 70-75, they turn out gold.
So that was a question that I was sort of hounding him on. I'm like, what do I gotta do to get a black Honey Badger? So I think a lot of people, this comes up in questions, why the color choices, and he sort of just explained it there. So this is sort of the natural material of the color, but then with a clear anodization.
Yeah, well, it's actually silver until you anodize it.
Okay.
But the alloy in this, the elements in it cause this to turn a gold color. You know, in the beginning, I was against this, but the engineers, the best hard coat anodize is clear. When you add color to it, you just squirt in pigment and it makes it a lesser finish, and you only add the color to get a color. All these guys paint their guns anyway.
They're rattle canning them. They're just
yeah. And this was never intended to be a commercial gun. And like, I'm so happy that it is now. But the entire focus was specific to replace the MP5 SD, and this was called the low visibility assault weapon. Okay. So it was for an offensive mission gun. And you know, the MP5 SD, there was no provision for forward assist, so you don't see it on here. Another great thing about us using an AR platform, the ergonomics were something that are way better than the MP5 and something that the soldiers were used to. Because they don't use MP5 much, but they train with SR25s and their M4s, their 416s all have the same ergonomic. And so it might be a special mission where they're using the MP5, they train up on it a little, but it's not natural to them. So it was important for us to start with the AR platform. That was part of the program. You know, an interesting thing about this from the beginning, some things that have changed. The original one only had a 4 3/4 inch barrel, and that was because it took that much silencer to get the sound level to the MP5 SD. But over the last decade, several things have improved, silencer technology being one, so we're able to do a smaller silencer, and so it's smaller and lighter weight, and it meets the sound and the signature reduction requirements. And so we're able to add, so rather than just making the whole gun shorter, we added barrel length back in. So we have a 7-inch barrel now, so it got us better accuracy, more energy, you can shoot farther with it. And that's a decision that we've made since then.
Okay. And if you guys go online and sort of look at pictures of the Honey Badger, we kind of did this last night. There's a pretty cool like history lesson there. You can kind of see how things have been refined up until like this, which is one of the most, or more recent versions, I should say.
Yeah, this is
there's a lot
pretty current.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool different changes that have been made. So one thing that I think a lot of people would ask as well, before what this was dubbed the LWV, PDW, like some kind of crazy gun industry acronym. So
well, military acronym, that's who named it.
Military, true. So I thought the name Honey Badger kind of came up in a pretty cool way. So can we talk about that?
Yes. so at the time, Ethan and I, who's the head of engineering still today for me, for about a decade, all we did was work on military and government projects. And they have acronyms for everything. Anybody who's been in the military is very familiar with this. I can never remember all of them.
Yeah, anyone in the gun industry, I mean, I feel like this comes up in conversation all the time. You're trying to remember models of firearms and cartridges, and there's just so many things to remember.
Yeah, there is. And so they use those, but generally they end up with nicknames for different equipment and stuff.
The guys actually out there in the field using them.
And so I could never remember. So this was the LVAW program, and the guy that was in charge of one part of SOCOM, like he named this gun the MPW, the multi-purpose weapon. As a matter of fact, if you have any old advanced armament ARs that we did, which were nice guns and 300 blackout, when we introduced the cartridge, the model of those is MPW.
So MPW, PDW.
Multi-purpose weapon, and then it was the PDW, the personal defense weapon. I wanted to name it like the POW, but I mean that, personal, but it was for a personal offensive weapon, because that's what this was. This wasn't for defense, this was for offense. And so I've called it that a bunch, but what happened was I could never remember, and I've told the story before, but when I was traveling for work, when they convinced me, the engineers, to let's do this in clear, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if it's gonna. And I said, okay, go ahead and try it, and I come back and take a look. And so when I got back for my trip, I go in engineering, I knew I was coming, they had it on the floor right in front of me and together, and it looked cool. Like, I mean, you see it kind of goes together even though it doesn't.
It kind of sort of like similar to the SCAR. It's like 50 Shades of FDE.
That's become a thing. But they showed me, it was when the Honey Badger video where the guy's narrating it, and Honey Badger.
It's like the Honey Badger's. Oh, the Honey Badger doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
With the snake or whatever.
Yeah, and so that's when I named it the Honey Badger then, just based on that. And it's neat how things work out. I started doing some technical advising for Call of Duty at the time for the weapon stuff, and that's how I got the Honey Badger in the game. And so it became very iconic. And now I love that it's a different color, because number one, I don't particularly care. And I don't like all the guns and stuff to always be all black,
like me.
Yeah, well, for me, it's like I had this situation where guns are all black, your knives are black, the cases are black. You can never find anything in low light, everything looks the same. So for me, this stands out. And now I even see commercially, sell it commercially. You walk in a gun store, if there's one of these in there, it stands out immediately.
I mean, we just saw that today at the gun store. It's like, oh yeah, I never see your stuff in stock because it's off the shelf as soon as it touches it, but yeah, it's cool to see that for sure.
Yeah, our local shops up here, we try to take care of them.
So speaking of this being Call of Duty, it's also been in the movie Peppermint, and it's kind of filling the shoes of the MP5 in the way of it's being put into pop culture. It's kind of strange to me that it's following that footsteps, but it's also very cool. So where else do you think you'll see this in the future?
I don't know, because it's interesting to me. I thought, I didn't play Call of Duty and stuff. I'm probably just old enough where I didn't really get into it.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand how huge of an influence that game was on the world culture.
Oh yeah.
So, and I say that because I made a comment a while back on something. I said it's one of the most recognizable and popular guns in the world. And you know the internet idiots trolls will heckle you for it. And here's my reasoning. I had no idea. I thought we'd only sell like 500 to 1,000 of these, and we have many thousands of them on back order right now. But my son was going to an international boarding school where there were kids from 30 countries, and I've told this before, but every kid there knew what the honey badger was. And the first year he was there was a new student from China that couldn't speak English and had a translator, and he knew what the honey badger was, and he couldn't even speak English.
Yeah, I mean, that just kind of goes to show it's everywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's one of those things where it was lucky, and I kind of understood it, but not to the degree that Call of Duty would be the best marketing I ever did. But you know, it's like a lot of things. I mean, the Vector's been in there too, and it helped them with that Vector. But this is a legitimate gun. Like, this gun is here to stay. It's got legs, and if you've never handled or shot one, then you might not understand how it's different from an AR, but this being 1 to 1.5, 2 pounds lighter than a lot of them on the market, being incredibly quiet, super accurate, you get more energy with the fast twist barrel, like just all the subtle details of the gun that make it far better. Like you were saying, you used to have the Subaru, the STI, like that compared to a basic model Subaru.
Right, like a regular Impreza or something.
Yeah, Impreza. This is the same situation. Like, this is the STI, or this is the Ford Raptor, or whatever analogy you want to make. That's what this is. The attention to detail, the subtle things that make it far better than a lot of the other stuff on the market, but also make the gun very expensive. But you see the demand is there.
Yeah, it's definitely there. That is for sure. So obviously there's so much cool stuff going on here. You guys will see a full video on one of these, hopefully next week here on the channel, so stay tuned for that. I think that's all that we have for now. So Kevin, thanks for the time.
That's great, thank you.
Cool, man. Looking forward to doing this again sometime. So that was our talk about the honey badger, how it came from a thought into fruition, and this is now one of my favorite pistols, AR style platform guns out on the market right now. I can't say enough good things about it. I really love everything that is going on with this, and I will give you more of my thoughts on the honey badger hopefully next weekend, if I can get around to making a full dedicated range video on this. So if you guys have any questions for now, you can let me know in the comments down below, and hopefully I will be able to answer anything that you have in next week's video. So that's going to be all for today. Hopefully you guys are doing well out there. Welcome back to Sunday GUNDAY, and I'm excited to make some more content for you guys here in the future. If you are new here, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week. And as always, thank you for watching. I will talk to you in the next one.